Today we're doing some rail fanning on the Union Pacific Evanston Subdivision, and I want you to come along. I'm Roy Smith. Thanks for joining me on today's rail fanning adventure. When people talk about rail fanning, they normally mean watching and photographing real trains. But today we are going to rail fan on my layout. That's right, we're going to visit the high plains of Wyoming and the awesome mountains and valleys of Utah. Our rail fanning will take place along the Union Pacific Evanston Subdivision. This division parallels Interstates 80 and 84 from Green River, Wyoming to Ogden, Utah for much of the way. That will be our primary route, but in some areas the tracks are not visible from the interstates. So at times we may have to get off the interstates and travel on older roads, both paved and unpaved. That's why we are going in a 4x4 vehicle. We hope to see lots of trains along the way, but for purposes of this rail fanning journey, we are going to be chasing the Union Pacific steam locomotive 844 at the head of a westbound excursion train. We are taking along a drone for some overhead photography. Fortunately, it's still not too hot at this time of year, and not at these altitudes. We've got a full tank of gas and a picnic basket lunch, so let's get going. Our journey begins here at White Mountain along an old abandoned road. We barely got here in time because 844 is already passing by. And we are sending up the drone for an overhead view. White Mountain is actually an escarpment that stretches some 20 miles from Rock Springs west to Green River. But we have to move fast to get to our next stop ahead of 844. And here we are at our next stop, the highway overpass for Route 531 that crosses the yard at Green River. No sooner do we get here than 844 passes underneath. We managed to get to the south side of Green River Yard in time to send up the drone again as 844 traverses the yard from east to west. "844 pulls in for a whistle stop at the former Union Pacific Depot. Amtrak leased space in this magnificent Union Pacific structure until it terminated its passenger service across southern Wyoming in 1997. In 2013, the Union Pacific turned the structure over to the city of Green River. The train that we are chasing will be here at Green River for about 2 hours. We can get our best views of 844 from the pedestrian bridge that crosses the yard from north to south. In fact, the pedestrian bridge is the best spot for rail fanning at the UP yard here. Green River consists of a north and south part of town separated by the Union Pacific Yard, but this pedestrian bridge, constructed in the 1930s, connects the two parts of town. It is one of 3 surviving UP steam locomotives and the only one that was never retired from service. The other 2 include Big Boy 4014 and Challenger 3985. All 3 of these steam locomotives are home-based at Cheyenne. Green River owes its existence to the railroad and to the river that flows through town. The river provided a plentiful supply of water for the UP's locomotives during the steam era. Like so many other towns along the way, Green River grew up as the Union Pacific laid its tracks across southern Wyoming in 1868 and 1869 during the construction of America's first transcontinental railway. All right, 844 has departed Green River and is now on its way, so our railfan journey westward continues. (844) is now arriving at Evanston, Wyoming, from which the Evanston Subdivision gets its name. Throughout the steam era, major servicing facilities for the Union Pacific locomotives were located here in Evanston. But when the steam era ended, so did the need for those facilities. Thus, in 1971, the UP closed down its operations here and turned its railroad complex over to the city, including its roundhouse, machine shop, and other structures, which the city is restoring and using for public events. From Evanston, it's only 6 miles to the Utah border and the top of the Wasatch grade. The UP put its largest and most powerful locomotives into service here to climb the grade, including its Challengers, Big Boys, gas-electric turbines, and Centennials. The best known and most spectacular part of the Wasatch grade passes through Echo Canyon. This is the best spot for railfanning on the Evanston Subdivision. Sadly, 844 and the excursion train that it is pulling disappears from sight at Echo, Utah, just beyond the entrance to Echo Canyon. But the Evanston subdivision itself continues for another 50 miles or so to Ogden, Utah, passing through Weber Canyon in the Wasatch Mountains for most of that distance. I have not modeled the Weber Canyon portion of the Evanston subdivision on my layout, but I am looking for a way to do so, perhaps turning the track back in a way that would double the mainline run on my layout. For now, I'm dreaming, but someday, who knows, perhaps I can make it happen. Well, my friends, our railfanning trip must end for now, but railfanning on a model railroad is a journey that never ends. I'm glad you could come along today. Don't forget, there are tons of other videos to watch on this channel. You can go to 2 of them just by clicking over here. I'm Roy Smith. Until next time, happy railroading.